So let's see how much of this he remembers. For the first one here, what do we have to do first? We're going to add 3. Perfect. So that's gone. We have 5x equals 30. And then divide by 5. X equals 6. Now over here, we're asked to solve for p. What's the first thing we have to do? We have to get p by itself, obviously. So we have to get rid of the L and the T. We have to subtract T. So M minus T is just M minus T. Over here, the T cancels out, and I just have LP. What's next? L is multiplying P, so we get rid of it by dividing by L. M minus T divided by L, we're just going to keep that in fraction form. Is N minus T over L equals P. There it is. Any questions on those? Okay. Well, we run into things like this that we've seen. What did we do for something like this? When we see the parentheses, it should instantly draw our attention and say, do something here first. Is there anything we can do inside the parentheses? No. So the next thing we have to look for is there anything that needs to be done to the parentheses. And yeah, it's being multiplied by the 6. So over here, the 18 doesn't change. 6 times 2x, 12x. 6 times negative 7, negative 42. Now what do we have to do? Add the 42. 60 equals 12x, and then divide by 12. Divided by 12 is 5. X equals 5. And as always, if you wanted to double check, you can always go back up here and replace the variable with that number. If 5 equals x, I'm going to come up here and say 2 times x, I'm putting 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Minus 7 is 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So the same value, same amount on both sides of the equal sign. So that confirms x equals 5. Now obviously you don't have to go back and double check like this. It just is a good idea to make sure. For one like this, what would we do? Careful. We look at it, we realize that the x appears twice. So we got to get rid of one of them. There's one on each side. When the x appears more than once, there's 2 cases. Either it's both on the same side, we can just combine them, or it's one on each side, so we have to get rid of one. So we get rid of the smaller one, which is the 7x here, because there's one on each side. We take 7x away from there, we have to take 7x off the other side as well. So over here, I'm left with a negative 4. Over here, 9x minus 7x is just 2x minus 16. And then, add 16. Negative 4 plus 16 is 12 equals 2x. And then, divide by 2. 6 equals x. What's different here? Yeah, both of them appear, both the x's appear on the same side of the equation. So rather than having to get rid of one, we're just going to combine them. 7x and negative 3x make 4x. Then what? Add the 3. 4x equals 24. And then divide by 4. X equals 6. Any questions? In your notes, I want you guys to try that one. So for this one, what's the first thing we got to do? When we look at it, we've got a 2x, and then there's another x on the other side, but which one's really smaller? This is a -3, so to get rid of it, I'm going to add 3x. You could do it the other way, you'd just be dealing with negatives is all. So this is going to be 5x minus 7 equals 13. And you can add 7. 5x equals 20. And divide by 5. X equals 4. If you'd done it the other way, you'd end up with -20 equals -5x. And negative divided by negative is still going to be a positive 4. Try that one in your notes. A little bit of variation actually combines a couple of things we've done. See how that one works out. So you see the parentheses, and as always, that says we have to do something there first. Is there anything to do in those parentheses? No. So we have to do to the parentheses, we're going to multiply by the 5. 5 times 3x is 15x. 5 times 1 is 5. Plus the 2x. Still sitting there. Now we can combine 15x and 2x, make 17x plus 5, which is 56. Then what? Subtract 5. 17x equals 51. And divide by 17. Get x equals 3. And as always, we can go back and put 3 in where the x is and make sure we get the same value on each side of the equal sign. At this point, I'm going to trust you guys can do that on your own. This one's got a little bit of a twist to it. Let's see if we can figure that one out on your own. So the big catch here is that negative in front of the parentheses. The easiest way to handle that is to treat it as though it's a -1 times the parentheses. So now the 2x isn't going to change. We have -1 times 5x makes it a -5x. -1 times -1 makes it a +1. That equals 16. So now we've got 2 and -5 make -3x. Plus 1 is 16. Subtract 1. -3x equals 15. And finally, divide by -3. X equals -5. What's that? So now we've got one like this. X over 7 equals 5. Now that x over 7 can be thought of in a couple of different ways. In this case, the easiest way to think of it is probably just as x divided by 7. And since x was divided by 7, how would we solve it? Multiply by 7. So it's 5 times 7 is 35. X equals 35. Another way that you could think of that x over 7 is as a 1/7 times x. As you think about it, 1/7 times x becomes 1/7 times x over 1. 1 times x is x, 7 times 1 is 7. It's x over 7. So 1/7 x is the same as x over 7. Now, if it was 1/7 x equals 5, how would we solve it? Well, we'd have to divide by 1/7. So dividing by 1/7, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 7 over 1, or 7. So we get 35. The reason I bring that up is we can run into equations like this. Here, x has been divided by both 3 and by 2. Now, there are still a couple of different ways to approach this. But probably the most straightforward one is this. X over 3 is just 1/3 x. X over 2 is 1/2 x. And that equals 5. So all I did was converted them. Now, just like if I had 3x plus 5x equals 24, I would add the 3x and 5x. Same thing here. I'm going to add the 1/3 x and the 1/2 x. So before I can do that, I need common denominators. So the common denominator is going to be 6. So 1/3 is 2/6 x. 1/2 is 3/6 x plus 5, or equals 5. So now that I have them in common denominators, I can just add the fractions. 2/6 plus 1/3 is 5/6. The x is still there, equals 5. And now I can solve by dividing by 5/6. So x equals 6. So I'm going to have you guys try one. See what you come up with there. So we're going to change this to 1/7 x plus 1/5 x equals 24. What's the common denominator going to be? 35. So 1/7 is 5/35. 1/5 is 7/35. Now I can combine them. 5/35 and 7/35 make 12/35. That's still times x equals 24. So to solve, I'm going to divide by the 12/35. So x equals 48. Not 48, sorry, 70. X equals 70. Now this one looks very different, but I'm going to argue this is exactly the same as having 2x minus 5 equals 7. Here, we would add the 5 and then divide by 2, right? Exact same thing is going to happen over here. Just we're working with fractions. So what's going to be our first move? Add the 2.5. So that's gone. We have 3/4 x over here. 1 3/8 plus 2.5 is 3 7/8. I'll let you go back and do the fraction arithmetic if you want to. And then we need to divide by 3/4. So I have x equals 3 7/8. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 7 is 31/8. Divided by 3/4 is going to be times 4/3. 8 and 4 cross cancel, give me 1 and 2. So this is 31 over 6, which is 5 1/6. What do you think? Not bad? So I'm going to have you guys try one. Give that one a shot in your notes. So the first step here is to subtract the 5.5. So 3/8 x equals 2 1/4. Then you have to divide by 3/8. So x equals, this is going to be what, 9/4 times 8/3. So 3 and 1, 1 and 2, that does equal 6. How about something like this? Give that one a shot in your notes. First thing we have to do here is add the 1.2. So this becomes 2.4 here, or 8.4 there. So 2.8x equals 8.4. Divide by 2.8 gives us equals 3. So take a look at that one and see if you can figure out what's going on. Okay, so now for this one, we have to start out, x has been multiplied by 3, 7 has been added, and then the final thing done was dividing by 4. So we reverse that to take it apart. We're going to multiply by 4 to get rid of that. So now 3x plus 7 equals 28. And now it's just like what we've seen before. We subtract 7. 3x equals 21. And we divide by 3. X equals 7. So let's see what you can do when it jumps up a level. How many of you had x equals 7 for that one? Good. If we jump it up a level like this, see what you can do with that one. What's our first step here? Times 7/8. So 2/3 x minus 1/4 equals 7/10. Then what? Add a 1/4. So 2/3 x equals 19/20. And then divide by 2/3. X equals 57/40, or 1 17/40. How many of you had that one? Good deal. So I'm going to have you guys work in the big book. Page 392. I think I had you try to start these before. So 394. Exercise 15-4. These are actually back to solving the literal equations with the variables, rearranging formulas. But I wanted you to see the more difficult equations here today as well. Tomorrow there is going to be a quiz on solving equations again. I have one from last week to give back to you here today. So while you get started on that, I'll pass those quizzes back.